Alistair Cohen and I are going to take you through the 9 races that are carded for the Vaal on Thursday, the 8th of December. And there is a 9-race program up on the Highveld and 9 very competitive races. And the very first race is a work riders maiden plate at 12:15. But before we go any further, let's welcome Alistair to the show. Ali, how are you?
Yeah, Warren, all good, and you? Nice to be on the show with you. It's our debut as a partnership, so looking forward to it. I actually quite like this Vaal card. It's my type of card because there's a mix of wide open races where I think we can make a lot of ground in the exotics, and there's also a mix of a few races where I've gone light on my exotic. So let's hope it all clicks and goes according to plan, because we all need it, don't we?
Yeah, we certainly do, and you're quite right. It is our debut together here on the show, and we do certainly look forward to it. So let's go then and talk about the first race, which is going to set off this exciting card. 12:15 is the off time, 2,000 meters on the Vaal Classic track, the work riders maiden plate. 8 runners at the time of recording, and as I tell the viewers each and every time, to double check scratchings, double check card changes and betting moves before taking your bets. But at the time that Alistair and I are talking, which is of course Wednesday morning, no scratchings in race 1. Looks to be a 2-horse race, 2 top sale and 3 prime example. But in saying that, I'm going for Chamu Mbaya's ride, top sale, who's only had the 8 starts, as opposed to prime example, who's had the 14 starts and was fairly well beaten last time. I know twice in Camden won well. But Ali, the way that Chamu rides and Paul Matchett stables in good form, I like top sale.
It's an absolute match here, Warren. 2 top sale and 3 prime example. I think the key to making money in this race is to perhaps find the swinger trifecta horse, and I think I've found that in the form of number 7, Sassy. I'll touch on her in a moment. 3 prime example just ripped off far too fast last time in the work riders race, over 2,400 meters. He was always a sitting duck getting into the final 400, and he ended up being a 1-pace second behind twice in Camden. The kicker to this race is that they have met before, and there was about a length and a half between them in favour of number 3 prime example. But with that said, I think that Top Sale has been crying out for the distance. So I think Top Sale will turn that form around. Just from a perspective of Trent Mayhew, I've known Trent for a very, very long time. He's the son of Craig Mayhew, former trainer, who's obviously an integral cog with Ashley Fortune. So I'd love for Trent to get into the number 1 box. He always used to come, him and Lucky Hudalakis' son always used to come and sit in the commentary box and drive me insane when they were kids. So it'll be lovely to see Trent ride a winner. He's got his best chance yet, but I think number 2 Top Sale will have the edge over number 3 prime example. And like I said, I think the key to making money in this race is to find the swinger trifecta horse. I think that'll be number 7 Sassy Jogan Tuesday at 17. Nice lightweight. She gets a sex allowance of 54.5. So I think number 7 Sassy will chase them home, and she could be the money maker in race 1.
Yeah, Sassy, she's certainly a horse that's going to win a race one of these days for at least for Brian and Taryn Sprong, rather. Joe Gwingwiza, as you've touched on. So that's the first race, the work riders. Let's kick off and go on to the second race, which is the first leg of the bipot. And it's a progress plate for fillies and mares over 1,450 meters, 10-1, 12.50. Just the 6 runners. And I thought it was quite a competitive race. And you'll see when we look at my suggested bet later on, I've given a suggested bipot, you've given a suggested place accumulator. I've gone with 3 horses, Marigold Hotel, Hollywood Bound, Sound of Warning, just to hopefully double up. But my first choice is Hollywood Bound. Gabriel Peterson rode her last time, second to Princess Philippa, and I'm just encouraged to see that he's got the ride back.
I don't like this race at all, Warren. It's a small field. I think you've got to separate the wheat from the chaff in this race. It'll be too short for Sprinkles, I believe. I think Shivers is probably going to need the run. And even though I think pound for pound, Sound of Warning is probably the best horse in the race, will she go this distance? As a first 1,200 meters in her career, I'm not convinced, even though the mother stayed. I don't think her style of running, especially on the Vaal Classic track with a 1,000-meter run, is conducive. So I think looking at that from that particular angle, I'll lean towards number 3, Homely Girl. I think the apprentice allowance is going to make her competitive. She's a likable filly. She runs her honest races. Last time through, Give Me a Shot in the Yippee Tombi, she was just behind Marigold Hotel, and the weight suggests that Homely Girl will turn that around. Whether she will remains to be seen. I really don't like the race. I think you was going 3 horses in the bar pot. I think you've probably gone with the right 3 horses in your bar pot, but it's an intriguing race, but dare I say for the wrong reasons, Warren. 3, Homely Girl, a bit of a guess up in race 2 is my first choice with no conviction. I'll just be happy to survive this leg of the bar pot. I know it's a small field. I know they're quality fillies that are running, but there's just a lot of question marks about them.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely. Okay, let's go to the third race, which is a maiden plate, 1450. Same distance as the second. Now the third, 25 past 1, and it is the first leg of the place accumulator. So as I said a moment ago, I've given a suggested bipod. That was the first leg in the previous race. Ali's given a suggested place accumulator. This is the first leg of exactly that. A maiden plate for the girls. And Gate 1, Sky Velocity for Johan Janssen van Vieren and Chase Majan. I just like the way that Sky Velocity is going about her business, the Karari daughter for the Stonebridge family. And really, if she doesn't win, she should certainly be in the money.
I agree with you. It's a race that won't take much winning. I don't think number 5, Sky Velocity, is going to Group 1 level anytime soon, but she is certainly stepping up with each and every start. And the advantage of draw number 1, I think, will be key. It wouldn't surprise me to see Chase want to take her as positive as possible. If one leads, that would probably be ideal, but it wouldn't surprise me to see number 5, Sky Velocity, go to the front. It would be silly to give away that draw. And her best form on offer, funny enough, is probably a penultimate start behind Tried and True. I know this form hasn't worked out all that well, but I thought Tried and True was a winner full of merit. She covered the most ground in that race. I called that race at Turpentine on the 27th of September. And I like the way that Sky Velocity just kind of stayed on at the end, suggesting that a win's not too far away. So I'd go with her. I've gone 3 horses in the place accumulator. One horse who keeps staring me in the face is number 7, Be In My Bonnet, the extremely well-bred daughter of Gimme the Green Light. She's related to the likes of Bunker Hunt, proper, strong, Fastfontein family. The debut was disappointing, but the Aussies are flying at the moment with Diego de Gavea. So if she's not in desperate need of the run, I expect huge improvement. And I think number 7, Be In My Bonnet's a live runner. And then number 4, Efficient Trader's worth another chance. It's probably worth another chance the wrong line to use about number 4, Efficient Trader. I just think Southern Skies were just a cut above, and if you consider that Efficient Trader ended up being about 8 lengths behind the second place horse, the run probably doesn't run all that badly in hindsight. So I'm willing to say that number 4, Efficient Trader, will run better, hoping to double up in this first leg of the place accumulator. Watch the betting on the first timers. Just looking,
Ali, at some of the statistics in the official winning form publication that I am using today. You talk about the Aussie team. Their last, according to the official winning form, their last 30 runners have yielded 6 winners. Johan, his last 30 runners have yielded 5 winners. And Sean, his last 30 runners have yielded 4 winners. So Sean's stable is starting to spark up nicely. The other 2 that we've mentioned are in good form. So, these are, when these stables are hot, you've got to follow them.
Yeah, and Sean had such a disappointing Summer Cup day, which is obviously rare. I mean, he normally comes alive on the big Group 1 race days. He's a world-class trainer, multiple champion trainer of South Africa. And then all of his horses peaked the next meeting after the Summer Cup. So, yep, when he's in form, follow him. Another winner at Turpentine on Tuesday for Sean with Electric Gold, showing again the 3-year-old Colt quality. So yeah, all 3 of those yards in good form, and it's probably a good time to be in form, with especially if these horses are going to stay in Joburg. The Cape seasons I can't wait for all these Group 1s. I know we've had one already. So for all the guys that are staying back home that have found form now, they could be in for a few months' nice paydays.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, race 4 is the Maiden Plate. 1450 again is the distance, and the race time is 2 o'clock, top of the hour, 2 o'clock come Thursday afternoon, the 8th of December, and we're marching on solidly to the end of the year. How time flies. Alistair, we're not going to argue much here in race 4, because having a look at your place accumulator perm and my bipod perm, 5 and 8 seem to be the numbers. Bowl first, and Silvano's Song. I'm not sure it's a two-horse race, but they look to be the two main contenders.
Let's start with my first selection here, number 8, Silvano's Song. I spend a lot of time with Stuart Pettigrew. I go and sit in his office and drive him mad in the afternoon, and I know how he thinks. And the fact that he ran number 8, Silvano's Song on debut from that draw around the bend is not a Stuart Pettigrew thing to do. So he was obviously expecting Silvano's Song to come on with a run under the belt. And with the run under the belt, I think that there'll be huge improvement. And also being by Silvano is not a bad thing either. We know that they come to laugh with racing. So number 8, Silvano's Song is my first selection. 5, Vaal First. That debut run behind COVID Operator was interesting. It was different. We saw Rabada come out and win yesterday in the form of Ryan's Dream for Mike and Adam Azzi. So Rabada is obviously an underappreciated stallion. And Vaal First, I thought, acquitted himself nicely on debut behind COVID Operator. COVID Operator was a long-time maiden, but the second place horse, Wind Water, I think is a winner in waiting, and he was unlucky not to win. So I think what punters need to remember, though, is that even though COVID Operator might ultimately turn out to be average and maybe win a race or two more, the second horse, Wind Water, had Vaal First run a length and a half behind Wind Water, everyone's ears would have been pricking a lot more. So I think take that on board. Second place horse was unlucky. I think the two horses will fight it out. If I'm looking for a third, I'd say number 7, Pembroke's probably open to some improvement. But coming out of a Work Riders Maiden on debut, I'd be a little bit sensitive with that. So I'm comfortable in the second leg of the PA with 5 and 8.
Ali, just before we wrap up the fourth race, one observation and one question. Neil Maurice is a partner of Vaal First, so he'll be looking for a huge effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Good old Neil. He gets around. I saw that he was hired by the Hong Kong Jockey Club to write a few articles leading up to the International Jockey Club in Hong Kong this week. So yeah, Neil's out and about. And, I know Neil well enough. He wishes he'd be at the Vaal on Thursday, and then probably go to Greyville on the weekend. He's absolutely sick for it. He's probably worse than you and I.
And the last question for race 4, Robert Burns. What do you make of this horse, Robert Burns, for Brett Crawford? I'm on the back foot with him, to be quite frank with you.
I think also a bit of improvement to come. I thought he went up to them quite nicely on his local debut on Work Riders Race Day and ran like he needed it the final 300 metres. So I expect him to, if he can see it out a little bit better, he should be fitter. I expect him to earn here. He comes out of a good draw as well. But maybe a run away from really hitting his straps, number 1, Robert Burns. Wouldn't surprise me if he won, but I put 1 or 2 others ahead of him.
Okay, race 4. Thanks, Ali. We're in the camp of Vaal First and Silvano's Song. And Alistair's first choice, Silvano's Song. And the way Stuart Pettigrew's firing at the moment, you could do worse than go for Silvano's Song. Let's move along to race 5 of 9. It's a merit-rated 66 handicap over 2,400 metres. 25 to 3 is the off time, and there is a scratching here in the form of number 1, Flag Bearer. Flag Bearer is a horse from the Fani Bronkhorst stable, so now just the 7 runners, and it's not easy at the 66 level, but Cape Bouquet is a horse, number 3, that's never too far off the action. Brett Webber's horses are there and thereabouts. Go Dream Machine is a bit of a value selection for me. Apache Fighters, lightly raced and really should enjoy the extra distance. But, I'm leaving out 1 or 2 horses that have got chances. It's that difficult, Ali.
The key to this race, it's a weird race, Warren, because you don't see 2,800 meter races every day. Cape Bouquet won a 2,800 meter race a week earlier. Now, how much will that take out of Cape Bouquet? Twice on Camden, who made the pace, and Go Dream Machine, who ran a nice race. So I'm willing to say that this race will probably come a little bit too soon for them, and I'll look for alternatives. Number 3, Cape Bouquet, interestingly enough, escaped the handicapper for that win, so comes in carrying with a merit rating of 66 and still has 59 kilos. So I suppose that's got to be in the back of one's mind, that number 3, Cape Bouquet's escaped to penalty for this race. But I'm going to go with fresher legs. I'm going to go with number 7, Apache Fighter. She runs like this distance will still be too short for her. She stayed on very nicely behind San Quintin when San Quintin was an aimer last time at the Vaal. Penultimate start, she beat Pomazelis. I know Pomazelis is still a maiden, but with that said, I still think Apache Fighter's still got a bit to come, especially at this level and over this distance. Ray Magner and Raymond Danielson team up. The pace should be on, especially if Twice and Camden's going to go make pace again. I expect she will, because that's probably Kate Bouquet's best chance of winning. So I think everything lines up for number 7, Apache Fighter, to run another big race and to continue her upward progress. Funny enough, you questioned me before we came on air. I had number 7, Fantastic Impact. I actually got rid of Fantastic Impact in my play. I initially had him in, then I was chopping and cutting up. I got rid of number 8, Fantastic Impact, in my place accumulator. I'll give him the time of day in this race. He is a maiden, but of course this is a handicap. Comes in with a light weight, and I've had a close look at the pedigree. Robbie Sage has obviously done the same thing. This distance should be of no concern for number 8, Fantastic Impact. But all in all, I think the filly number 7, Apache Fighter, is well teed up to win this.
Yeah, you mentioned Fantastic Impact. I remember this horse here in KwaZulu-Natal was with Paul Lafferty once upon a time. And was with Paul Lafferty once upon a time, Fantastic Impact. So certainly could help. I see the official computer, for at least the official winning form rather, have got him forecasted at around 25 to 1. So certainly Fantastic Impact could provide some value there. But that is race 5. Let's move on then and talk to Alistair about the 6th race, which is a graduation plate over 1,200 meters. You know by now we're at the Vaal. We're on the classic track. And this race is going to run at 3:10. 2 scratchings. I'm just leaving the 8 runners that are Twice the Storm, Texas Red, Golden Prospect, Munchkin, Covert Operator, Tanganga, Cool Winter, and Prosper's Gift. Number 4, Ridge Runner, and number 10, Permessa Avanti are scratched. And Munchkin was ultra impressive when winning last time. I think the connections would have been a little disappointed that he actually didn't make a winning debut.
I think they were. I think he also found a hot maiden first time out, Warren. I know that the connections think number 5, Munchkin, is very good. I was actually chatting to Craig Zaki on the golf course about 2 months ago before he went to New Zealand. And Munchkin had been scratched a couple of times before, but there was support for him. So I spoke to Craig and I said, Craig, what do you think of this horse Munchkin? He said he is so good. His work is exceptional. He'll turn out to be a smart horse. And I trust Craig's judgment. He's found them along the way. He's come with some ridiculous, what I thought were ridiculous statements, saying, follow this horse, this will be good, whatever the case may have been. And I've looked at the form and said, oh, Craig, prove me wrong again, and he has. So I'm willing to say that Munchkin's going to step up further. The maiden win, I believe, came in a fairly moderate maiden, but all he could do was win. But he's still shown a lot of greeness. So the more he races, the better he'll be. What also could be key, though, is that he's at home, at the Vaal. Lucky, obviously, is based out at the Vaal. And I think that might be key. I know that it's small intricacies that I'm looking into here, but the fact that he shows so much at home and he's had to travel to Turfentine twice may have just taken a slight edge. Back home, I think number 5, Munchkin, could well show his worth here. The scratching of number 4, Ridge Runner, I believe, makes the race a lot easier because I gave Ridge Runner a bit of a chance here. 3 Golden Prospects, I think, is a nice horse, but it'll be too short for him and probably need the run. And then number 1, Twice the Storm, and 2, Texas Red. They carry similar form lines. I don't know if they're going to be progressive enough, giving weight to number 5, Munchkin, to beat him. So I'm pretty strong on number 5, Munchkin, in race number 6, and I'm happy to bank him.
The 5-horse Munchkin will be ridden by Smanga Kamala, and of course he'll know every stride of this Rafif colt because he's partnered him in his 2 starts to date, so that's another positive if you like Munchkin. 1 horse for quartet purposes, I just would like to suggest, I'm expecting a bit more for number 7, Tanganga. That last run was all wrong when just showing pace and faded, so ignore that run. I'm not suggesting Tanganga can win. Well, as I say always, Ali, of course, any of them can win. They're in the race and they've all got a chance. They've got a ticket, they've got a chance. But Tanganga is not my first choice. I'm just merely suggesting if you want a bit of value for the back end of quartets, I'm going to ignore that last run of Tanganga. I think this horse is a little bit better than that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with suggesting a bit of value. And he's got number 6, Covert Operator, absolutely stone cold as well.
Okay, so that's race 6. Let's move along and talk about race 7, which is a merit-rated 72 handicap for fillies and mares. 1,800 meters this time, 3:45 on Thursday afternoon is the time of the race. 72 handicap, Alistair, 10 runners carded, 10 runners racing at this point in time. And this is one of the races where it is a little bit, the last couple of races get a little bit tricky.
They do. In no particular order, my numbers in the place accumulator are 3, 4, and 6. Let's start with number 3, Summerland. She ran a week ago, and I actually gave her a huge chance, and she just disappointed. But I think coming back a week later with all the rain that's been around in Joburg, might just stand her in good stead. I'm willing to give her another chance, but the race has to be run to suit. 4, Cerulean Dancer's in good form. She ran against Stronger last time out. She was under sufferance, and I think she ran above her rating. So number 4, Cerulean Dancer, has to be respected as well. I'd actually, doff my hat to Fani Broncos. I remember when she won her maiden, she won at any price, and she won such a weak maiden. But she's held her form. She's not going to go and run in the South African Oaks. I'm pretty sure of that. But She spun a bit of money for the connection. So number 4, Cerulean Dancer, I think done better than she had any right to do. And she's only 3, so she's still got some career ahead of her. And then number 6, Stunning Kitten. If you had to push me in a corner, I'd probably say she'd be my first choice. Rachel Veneker takes her out for Paul Matchett. She's found her form since her ratings dropped. It's dropped further, dropped another pound. I think she's probably set up to run her biggest race in a while, number 6, Stunning Kitten. But it is a tricky race. I don't have much of a feel for it. I'll be hoping to survive with those 3 in the place accumulator, 3, 4, and 6.
It's wonderful to see Rachel Veneker doing a bit of travelling, and she's had a fabulous day at Hollywoodbets Greyville just the other day, 3 winners. She's a young lady who's really just, well, we've spoken enough about her over the past, but she really is just in a good, rich vein of form, and she's certainly got talent. And her winning ride here, Stunning Kitten, this horse Stunning Kitten could certainly provide her with another winner. So you like 6 Stunning Kitten, so do I. In the bipot, which we'll see just now, I've just put the 1 Dark Travel as a backup. But Stunning Kitten, you and I, no arguments here. As you say, if we were pushed into a corner, 6 is the one that we like. The 8th race is a handicap at the 66 level. So let's move on to the penultimate race on the card. And it's at 4:15 over the mile, 1,600 meters. And Player, which is very well named, I presume it's named after Gary Player, seeing he's a partner with Messrs. Berg and, of course, Larry Nestat. Candace, the trainer. Last 2 wins have been impressive. I know that he just lasted last time, Alistair, but the prophet is Frank the form, and I think he can go for the hat-trick. I really do. And again, I'm not just saying it because, it's Candace's horse. I'm saying it because the form's there for all to see. He's lightly raced. And a lot of people get a little edgy when horses are going for their hat-trick. I like it because I've made a lot of money over the past going for horses that are looking to reel off the hat-trick, and I quite like Player.
Well, this is what I can tell you about Player. Even though he fell in last time, beating Eye of the Prophet by a short head, he needed that run over 1,600 meters. So that run's brought him along nicely. Candace is dying to try him over 2,000 meters, but the race just hasn't presented itself. And every time the race does present itself, Player draws 35 out of 35. So there's no point. There's no point going against that. So the query is, will it be a little bit too short for number 2 Player? I know he's won over a mile. But overall, Candace is dying to try him over 2,000 meters. I know that he won a Hollywoodbets Greyville over 1,800 meters. That was probably more the Player that you can expect when he goes further. I know Calvin Habib has also been to work number 2 Player, and he was very happy. So I can't put anyone off Player. The horse that I think is his biggest danger is number 8, Lutuli. Now, Lutuli finished behind Player. The weights suggest that Lutuli will finish closer, but not finish in front of Player. Now, Lutuli has got a light weight, 55 kilos, but the interesting thing about this horse is that him and number 7, Absolute Value, are carded to run at the Vaal just 2 days later. So the thinkings there, I think, probably needs to be dissected. Will Lutuli end up taking part in both starts? One starts, neither starts. I don't think neither's an option here. So just perhaps look a little bit closer to, in the morning of race day, just to make sure that he's in and not running on Saturday on Grand Heritage Day in place. I think number 8, Lutuli, is a live chance. And then looking around for something else, I think number 1, Wandering Star, is also worth another chance. I know he's got a heavy weight. Samanga Kamala takes the ride for St. John Gray, but when Samanga rides for his boss Monty, there's always a little bit of extra Lint and Samangas are just to do Monty proud. So number 1, Wandering Star, is another horse that I wouldn't let loose. 2 play at first race, can't put anyone off him, but dying to run him over 2,000 metres.
Okay, 281. There's not much arguing. A couple of the races you and I have been similar. 1 or 2 races we've been a little different, but that's what it's all about. But this race, 8, Lutuli, interesting runner, and the 1, Wandering Star, looks to have an obvious place chance. But I'm in your camp, and Player is certainly the one that, in our opinion, they all have to beat. As I say, looking forward to him hopefully reading off the hat-trick, and Player. And also, Alistair, just before we move on to the last race, it was a hard-fought win. As you say, he needed it last time. It was a hard-fought win, and you need that in a racehorse. You need the guts, you need the will to win and the determination, and I think he's got that, this horse, Player.
Yeah, he definitely does. That attribute probably going to take him a bit further in his career than his overall ability. So, it was good to see him fight and knuckle down and get the job done last time out. But, he's not a bad horse, Player. Put it like this. I think his rating of 67 might be a little bit... Put it in 3 months' time, I don't think he'll be a 67.
Had the privilege of meeting a Gary, Player, at the sales a couple of weeks ago. And not a bad golfer. You say not a bad horse, Player, not a bad golfer too.
Gary Player was a far better golfer than Player as a horse, that I can tell you.
Let's go to the last race, the 9th and final race, which is a handicap at the 80 level, 1,600 meters. 4:45 is the last race at the Vaal. And Stuart Pettigrew, that man Stuart Pettigrew, you were chatting about him a moment ago, top quality horseman, bang in form. And here they've got number 9, Southern Blaze. Pilasandi Oli is going to ride. Very, very consistent form. And Southern Blaze is 2.5 kilograms better off at the weights with number 5, Eye of the Prophet. But it's a very, very competitive race to close off proceedings. Other horses to mention are, of course, number 2, Indus Knight, number 3, Foreign Field, and number 10, Billy Spellbound. Billy Spellbound won the Maiden, most impressively beating Main Mission, Alistair, but it's a competitive race to close off the day, but I do like number 9, Southern Blaze.
I don't really like the race at all. I respect number 9, Southern Blaze. I've got 3 horses in my place accumulator. My first choice is number 4, Twin Turbo, returning to a handicap. I think that could well, carry number 4, Twin Turbo, to the number 1 box. Interestingly enough, Cabello chose to ride number 4, Twin Turbo. I know he had a few options in this race. He's elected to ride number 4, Twin Turbo. And I watched him on the way down to the start. Not that I was paying attention to anything really going down to the start last time out, but he looked an absolute picture. He looked the winner on the way down to the start last time, number 4, Twin Turbo. So Fabian Habib has obviously got him in a good space, and 2 weeks later I can't see him losing that edge. So number 4, Twin Turbo, back in a handicap, would be my first selection. The backups, number 2, Indus Knight, needed his last run. This mile will be more up his alley. The penultimate start form was very well franked to Turfentine on Tuesday when Electric Gold came out and hammered a pretty useful field. So number 2, Indus Knight, I think will run a lot better. And then number 10, Billy Spellbound, is in my play as well. The reason I like him is because he's obviously fresh off a win and because he's got a light weight. The reason why I'd say I don't like him is because he dropped. I think the further he goes, the better he'll be. The Mother Witchcraft was a very good stayer. So dropping back to 1,600 meters leaves a little bit of a niggly doubt in the back of my mind. I'll be happy to survive the final leg of the place accumulator. If I had to include one other, it would be number 5, Eye of the Prophet, because Veronica gets on so well with the son of Gimme the Green Light. She's only been beaten on him once, and that was by the shortest of short heads by Player. Interesting end, tricky end. I'm happy with 2, 4, and 10 in the place accumulator. Pick 6, go wild.
Okay, that is the 9th and final race. All that's left for us to do is to put our slides up on screen. We'll start with Alistair's place accumulator, and he can take us through it. So we asked the team to do just that, and there it is. Let's have a look at the suggested bets section of the show. And Ali, I'll hand over to you to just go through your place accumulator numbers for the viewers.
Okay, so 4, 5, and 7 in the first leg. First leg runs at 25 past 1 CAT. So 4, 5, and 7 hoping to double up there. By 5 and 8, Vaal First and Silvano's Song. I think I'll double up there. By Banker 7, Apache Fighter in race number 5, which is leg 3. By Banker number 5, Munchkin in race 6, which is leg 4. By 3, 4, and 6, Summerland, Cerulean Dancer, and Stunning Kitten, just hoping to survive and come through once. By 2 and 8, Player and Latsuli, I think I'll double up there. By 2, 4, and 10 in the final leg, and there I'm just hoping to get through. So if everything goes according to plan, I don't think the place accumulator is going to pay 10 rand. I think it'll pay quite well, and I'm hoping to double up a couple of times along the way.
Okay, that's the place accumulator. Let's move on and have a look at the suggested buy pot for Thursday's meeting. First leg, we're talking, you heard Alistair talk about doubling up and trebling up, etc. Well, I'm hoping to double up in the first leg of the buy pot. Leg 1, 2, 4, 6, Marigold Hotel, Hollywood Bound, Sound of Warning, and what's going to be a good race, but a tricky race, tough race to assess. Second leg, Banker 5, Sky Velocity. You've heard from Alistair and I during the show that we quite like Sky Velocity, and we're expecting her to just about win. If she weren't to run in the first 3, we'd be shocked. Sky Velocity. So let's move on to the third leg. Horses 5 and 8, Bowl First, and 8, Silvano's Song. Much kinder draw this time, Silvano's Song, so keep an eye out for this colt. Beautifully bred for Stuart Pettigrew, bang in form. So those are the 2 horses there for the third leg, 5 and 8. Then we move on to the fourth leg, numbers 4, 6, and 7. Penultimate leg, I've gone 1 and 3. And then in the last leg of the place accumulator, numbers 1 and 6. Okay. Sorry, not the place accumulator, the buy pot, my apologies. 1 and 3 in the last leg of the buy pot, 1 and 6. So just to quickly recap, first leg 2, 4, and 6, by Banker 5, by 5 and 8, by 4, 6, 7, by 1, 3, by 1, 6. That's the buy pot perm, and it costs 72 rand. So that's a wrap then from Alistair and I for the Vaal race meeting. Ali, always a pleasure. Lovely to hear from you. And of course, we keep a close eye on you overseas. We watch every Dubai race. We listen to your every word. And as always, we thoroughly enjoy it.
Thanks so much, Warren. Yeah, I'm always keeping an eye on everything back home as well. It certainly keeps me going, keeps me alive. So, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, lovely. Alistair, that's Alistair Cohen, and we thank him for his contribution to the race meeting for Thursday at the Vaal. And as I said, just that suggested bets, Alistair's was a place accumulator, mine was a buy pot, not a place accumulator, as I mentioned a moment ago. That's it. All the very best to you, punters. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your continued support of this lovely game of horse racing, and we'll see you, as always, in the number 1 box.